Well, this stuff isn't any easier to get through when it's full of leaves, I tell you what. Oh my goodness gracious. Wowza, that is really, really high. What in the world? Yeah, there's a gravel bar right there. Well, maybe in the springtime. That's gonna be up to my belly button, dude. I can't go in there. Darn. I do know of a smaller creek that runs through a farm field that I am allowed to go to. And there's some nice cobbles in there. Maybe we'll go check that out instead, huh? We'll come back here in the spring. Alright, so this river's not quite such a freak show. There's some nice cobbles in the bottom, and it's shallow enough to stand in. Got some nice rocks here. So I'm going to use my pickaxe to pull some of these bigger rocks like this up out of here. And we'll dig around underneath them and see if we can find any gold flakes in here. If I even find a couple, I'll put in the sluice and shovel through it just to see what we can find for today. Seems like all the bigger rivers are flooded because it's, you know, the middle of winter, and I don't know, stuff's melting. So check this out, you might enjoy this. My walking stick, it's actually a shovel handle, but on the bottom here I go ahead and stick one of these rubber things from the bottom of a cane. See if I can get this off. And then in the backpack is the business end of the walking stick. All I got to do is line up the holes here. There. Just give it a tap. I got wing nuts that'll hold that together. Now that's how you turn a cumbersome old shovel into a nice, convenient walking stick. There, I might as well do it in comfort. Oh, I'm seeing lots of black sand in here. That's a real good sign. That doesn't necessarily indicate gold, but if that's where the heavy stuff is falling out, well, if the heavy stuff is getting stuck here, perhaps so will the gold. So I see one speck in here. Let's see about that. Let's look at it up close. There it is. It's not big. Neither are any of them, I find. But you know what? The fact that there's some means that, well, maybe I didn't dig deep enough. I just went like 4 inches down. I'm going to come slam a couple of buckets here and put it in the sluice and see what happens. Why not? So I've returned the next day after that winter snowstorm advisory. It didn't blizzard much, we got a little snow. But I've brought back the bigger equipment. So here's what we're working with. I've got a 6-foot long sluice. Let's see what brand it is. I think it's SE Southeast Manufacturing or something like that. It was made in China. It ain't a Keen or nothing, but you know, it's pretty good hardware. It's pretty hardcore. The edges came a little sharp. I had to sand that down a little. You know, I got some better wing nuts for the middle. You know, I actually bought 2 sluices and I cut one in half, took off the first part, and I bolted it together right there so that instead of being a shorty, I'd have a 6-foot long runway with plus the flare. So yeah, 72 inches of goodness. Also, my bucket classifiers that I made myself. Got some 1/4-inch mesh hardware cloth from the hardware store, and I sewed that up with some copper wire there, and I've had this thing for a couple of years. It's pretty hardcore. I also have an 1/8-inch one that I made out of 1/8-inch screen. This one is not as tough, but it lasts. This lasted over a year here for me. Sewed that one up too. Just have to cut the pieces out and basically make a garbage can out of the stuff and put handles on it. So in the sluice, I'm running ribbed carpet underneath the whole thing. Then I've got this 3M miner's moss, 3/8 inch thick 3M brand. And then I have some other cheaper miner's moss that came with the sluice. It's just a little bit different weave. I thought I'd give it a variety of mosses there. And then I just have the bare carpet with the expanded metal over it at the end. So that's what we're running. I know that carpet can be kind of hard to get all your flower gold out of, but you know what? It really does catch it. And with this little that's here, I really don't want to lose it. I'll probably burn the carpets later on just to see what's in them, but maybe not after just this one day. But we'll see what I catch today out of here. So I've begun clearing the way to put the sluice in right here. I might as well not waste the material and start shoveling it into the bucket. These things can slam through material, dude. In the surface area that's actually open, I go through the 1/4 inch, shovel it through the 1/8 inch, and it's sluice ready. You know, even though it's February 2nd in Wisconsin, it's not bad out. Been working in my t-shirt. Actually breaking a sweat. The sluice is all set up. Got a nice flow through there. Got a decent drop on it. The end seems to have some nice pressure, so hopefully it won't be piling up with junk. Got our spirit level. Let's find out if it's even. There, that's level. All right. I put a piece of tubing under here, so I got a little wave action in that first mat here, kind of like the hog mat thing. I think they do that, don't they? All right, let's start shoveling. All right, another piece of good advice. If you're running miner's moss or carpet, take a bucket with a little bit of water and a little bit of jet dry. Blast it through here like this. You get all the bubbles out of your miner's moss. If there's any air down in there and the gold particles touch that air, they're going to cling to that little bubble and float right out of your sluice. And we don't want that happening now, do we? That's probably good. Now I forgot my sluice scoop. I'm gonna have to be doing this by hand. Let's see how she runs. Well, I could use a little more pressure. Water pressure, that is. Oh, it's sliding through there. Just that little hump that's giving me trouble. Oh man, that's going right over the moss. Real nice. I'm gonna grab the camera and come up through here. So it seems to be feeding pretty nicely. Nothing's compacting or building up. I don't have my scoop today. Got it. But it seems like if I put pretty big handfuls of material in here, it doesn't sit and compact up. It slides right over the top like it ought to. Nice ripples like that. It's piling up a little bit right in the top, but the V isn't really starting real nice until about right there. Not sure why. Probably the low velocity of water in the first place, but it isn't building up. I think this is going to run real nice. Throw another handful in there. Yeah, that clears out beautifully. It's all dancing around in there. I kind of designed it to have little ups and downs and dips, and I purposely overlapped the moss and the different pieces there to kind of give it some different velocities. You know, over this hump it's going to be going faster, and it's right on the bare moss, and there's a little dip right here. It's kind of building up a little bit. I do have Hungarian riffles that go with this sluice. I have 4 sets that could go all in here, but you know, I just wanted to try the expanded metal without them. You know, at these flow rates, it just compacts up behind the riffles, and then it just sits there like a pile, like it's doing right here. And I think this is due to this hump that I put in here, but this hump catches quite a bit of little gold actually too. Once this stuff sort of works down, it gets caught in there real nice. But you kind of have to dry out the carpets and beat them with a stick to get all the gold out of them. So that's the only downside. You know, you're not exactly sure what you got until you do that. But all right, I'm gonna get us another bucket of material here. This thing is chewing through it. That was a half bucket. That went through that in 3 minutes. This thing is flying. Probably flies faster than I can shovel. First things first, gotta remove some of these obstructions. I feel like a dog. That's what I'm missing out here, a dog. Everybody's got a dog but me. I have a smaller house. I don't think a dog would fit very well. Easy peasy. How about that classification? When I first started prospecting, the hardest part of it was classifying with those stupid little green ones. Now let's be honest with ourselves. These things suck. They're useful if you're just putting it in the backpack and want to test some spots. But if you're actually going to be working and running material through your sluice, it takes an hour to get a bucket with one of these things. That was my main inspiration for making this thing. It's just to save myself a little bit of time. Oh, I'm having such a good time out here. It's such a beautiful day. I want to get a couple of feet down if I can. This is what digging a garden in my yard felt like. Tons of rocks. There. Now with most of those big rocks out of there, we can actually scoop. It's just hard to penetrate solid rock with your shovel, you know? Yeah, you can put big old rocks in there and everything. Shake, shake, easy peasy. Nice and clean. I know it's not generally considered good protocol to start mining and throwing the sluice as soon as you find one flake. But you know, the options are pretty limited right now this time of year. It might be a nice day, but most of the other rivers are angry right now. So I think this will give me an opportunity to take a nice big sample out of this area. So I've got one bucket full of material ready to go through the sluice, and that is the extra material from classifying that. If I half-inch classify about 3 or 4 buckets of material, and I run those 3 or 4 buckets through that 1/8 inch classifier, I'm left with 1 bucket, and I filter out 2 or 3 whole buckets of stuff that don't end up having to go through the sluice. So it kind of saves you time waiting for your sluice to clear out. So kind of losing daylight here. So I'm going to run that bucket through the sluice here, and I'll take home the cons and pan it out back home so we can see what we got. That clears up so fast. That clears up so fast. When I had the riffles in there, that would have took 30 seconds or a minute for that section to just kind of swirl and then be done. Look at that, nice and clean. Big handful. Goes through. It cleans out so fast. I don't even know why I bothered using riffles. Unless they really do some good. I have a feeling that they're really more to catch bigger pieces that I'm just not going to have here. And I don't see why pickers wouldn't get stuck in 1/2 inch expanded metal either. This sluice works great. I have no complaints. I think the sluices were like 85 bucks each if you just look on eBay. They're a lot cheaper than some of the more name brand ones, made in China. Some of the edges were a little sharp. You know, I had to take some sandpaper and just kind of go over them, all the pieces real quick, you know, but that's what you get for, you know, for buying the cheaper. But I mean, as far as the hardware goes, I mean, aluminum is aluminum. Works great. It's a folding one too. If I take out these middle piece, the whole thing folds up and I can put it in a backpack or a bucket. It's really kind of amazing. So I'm getting down near the end of this bucket here. That took about 8 minutes to run through the sluice. With the Hungarian riffles in there, I end up taking maybe 20 to 30 minutes to get a bucket through because they just compact up, and then the sections in between them get all compacted up. You just can't feed it very fast. If there's any advice you have as to whether or not they matter, let me know in the comments. I've seen in artisanal mining in other countries, you know, they use a long sluice with no riffles at all. Some of them just have cloth or carpet in the bottom, and they catch the real fine stuff. So if there's a real purpose for those riffles, besides just breaking up the water flow, I'm not having any velocity issues. It's not getting going too fast to where it's making a V and blowing out my stuff or anything. So what are they really for? Let me know downstairs there what we got, you know? Now again, not wanting to blow out stuff from there by pouring water to get that last bit in there. Once I actually get everything completely scraped out of here, I'm just going to rinse my mats right into there. And whatever's in here can just get panned when I pan the cons. Now black sand isn't always an indicator that there is gold. It's just usually a good place to look for it in the same locations. But around here we have tons of magnetic rocks. All kinds of iron sand, and I can see already this whole section is filled to the top with black sand. That's the one thing about the miner's moss. You got to clean it out often enough, but I got a whole bucket of clay through here, so actually a bucket and a half. So I'll clean that out and we'll find out. So getting this out of here without dumping all your gold out the end isn't exactly hard, but you got to be a little careful. I'm just going to lift up the front just enough so that the water stops going through the sluice. real slow. Let it drain out like that. It won't disturb none of your gold in your mats there. There. Let it just sort of drain for a minute. There. And then it lifts out like nobody's business. You just don't want to pour it too quick and have it all slop off the end there and carry with it all your stuff. Now I designed these this way on purpose. With a little encouragement, they actually kind of nest into each other and they can ride along in the same bucket. There we go. Good. Alright, I got the river pretty well cleaned up from the mess I made. Like they say, take only memories and leave only footprints. But not even those if you can help it. So here's an interesting thought that I have. Alright, so Wisconsin is the land of rolling hills. About 10,000 years ago, the Ice Age came down. Alright, so I'm going to give you an example here. This is Wisconsin. So about 10,000 years ago, a big glacier came and pushed a bunch of Canada right down on top of Wisconsin like that. And then when the glaciers melted, it left us some nice big piles of material to look through. Now that is how we get our kettle moraine hills. That's how we get our rolling hills that Wisconsin is known for, these big loping, sloping hills that you see all over the farms. And as those glaciers melted, they made huge rivers, and I'm sure that those rivers made gravel bars and S-turns and things just like any river would these days. So it makes me wonder, you see some smaller rocks. As you're going through here, it does go uphill into a glacier hill. Seeing bigger rocks, boulder, rocks, bigger rocks, bigger rocks, even bigger rocks. Before you know it, we're hitting boulders. And right here, I know it's covered in snow, but boulders, big old boulder pile. This whole section here is boulders. Whoa! Boulders, all the way to there. And then the boulders stop, and the creek just goes back up into the woods there. There's lots of little creeks like this around here, and they're all beautiful. But it makes me wonder, is this perhaps an ancient gravel bar from when the glaciers were coming through? And if so, is my little creek perhaps cutting through such a gravel bar and going out into the open where I can dig for, hopefully, if there was a pay streak in here, hopefully it will be washed up to where I can find some of it in here. Maybe stuck in the clay layer that seems to be prevalent in this area. Bye-bye, river. Hope we have some good gold in there. So the sluice has reduced a bucket and a half, a little more than a bucket and a half, so about 8 gallons of material down to this about half gallon of material to pan out. You know, I'm sure it's loaded with black sand. Oh, yep, it's all magnetic. Loaded with black sand. And that's what makes a sluice so handy, is that instead of panning 8 gallons of material, I just threw it through the tray, and now I only have to pan this much. So here's the thing about tapping like that. You probably see people do it all the time. What it does is, when there's heavier things in your pan, gravity holds them tighter to the bottom. So when you tap the pan, the heavy things don't slide around as much as the lighter things that swish all over the place. So if you kind of hold the pan tight against your belly or against your sternum perhaps, and you tap it nice and hard, watch what happens to the material in the pan here as I do it. You gotta give it kind of a good thump. See how some material is creeping towards me and some of it is creeping to over here? Notice you'll see a separation of different things. You got real light stuff, moderately light stuff, you got black sand all along here. If you have gold in the pan, especially larger pieces, it'll collect right up here along with the lead and a lot of the black sand. And if you tip it at different angles, you can get it to go different spots in your pan or whatnot. But either way, it's a great technique for separating out the heavies from the lights. But you don't want to do it this early in the game. You want to do that when it's real close to being nothing in your pan. But that's how that technique works. I like to combine tapping with rinsing it back at the same time. So you want to give it a few taps to settle your gold up by the tip there. Kind of shake it into a nice little half moon. So you have a nice fat pile up against that back edge so you don't rinse out what's back there. And just slowly work it back like that. There. Now we got most of the light junk off the top. I'm just going to take my pan, stick it into the water up to about there, and then just move it back and forth. And all that stuff will just rinse right out for you, leaving your clean material to continue on with. Just want a little bit of water for this part. Again, just watching for little pieces that aren't creeping down as fast as the other stuff, especially if they're real shiny. So, every now and then you might come across something that looks like gold, and you're really not sure if it is or not. Now, before you go and get all excited about it, there's some ways to test so you can know. If you just kind of, this works with your fingernail or whatever, if you kind of crunch down on it like that, and it breaks apart into little powder like that, that's not gold. That trick works for pyrite, for mica. Here's another piece like that. It's shiny like gold, but as soon as you crunch it with a fingernail or a spoon or something, it just breaks apart. You can be pretty darn sure that gold isn't going to do that. Gold is very malleable. You could smack it with a hammer 100 times and it would just get flatter and flatter and flatter, but it wouldn't shatter. So that's a pretty definitive test. There. Right there by the tip of that screw. One little micro dot. That's all we get for all that day's hard work. It really pays to do your test panning and scouting first. Alright, so even though we got skunked on the gold, there's one more thing we can actually do to try to find some cool stuff in here. If you've ever gone diamond mining or gem hunting or whatever, maybe at the Crater of Diamonds or something like that, there's a little technique where you take the rocks like this and you kind of go back and forth like that, and you go up and down, you turn it. I'm not a pro at this. And what this does is it makes all the heavy chunks go to the middle and the bottom there. Then you take your collection and you flip it. And then after you flip it, you just kind of look right in the middle there, and that's where all your heavy stuff is going to collect. And you might end up seeing some nice garnets or a diamond or whatever gems might be in there would wash up in that section. Well, besides those couple of nice garnets, I found this one really clear piece of something that really kind of makes me question it. Now, if you ever wonder if you found a diamond, the definitive way to really tell, diamonds are harder than just about everything else on the planet. So if you have a sapphire like this, you can look at a flat plane of it that doesn't have any scratches on it, and you can take your diamond in question and try to scratch that sapphire. Now, diamonds are going to scratch sapphires because they're harder. Not much else will scratch a sapphire. Nope, it didn't do any damage to that gem face. If you look right here how the light kind of reflects off it like that. So, for the last few weeks, over on CGT Prospecting Adventures, Christian Treadwell has been digging out a culvert pipe in Northern California. Somebody put a big grizzly in the bottom many years back, and this guy's been lucky enough to go and dig out what's in the bottom of that culvert. And also, he made Paydirt bags out of it. Let's find out what's inside. So what we've got here before us is one bag of unsearched Paydirt from the culvert, 1/4 inch classified, and he's added 1/4 gram of gold to it. Alright, so we'll just dump it in our classifier here quick. Oh, it is heat sealed. Let me cut that open. So I'm going to dry classify this first. I'm going to rinse that out when I got water going. This stuff's super dusty. I can smell dust in the air just from doing this. Alright. Put the bigs in another pan. I'm just going to wash a lot of the clay out of it before we actually pan it. Man, that smells like fresh earth right from outside in the grass. I went and poured off the dirty water, but I kept the sediment so I can recheck it later. Alright, let's see what we got in here. A lot of light stuff in there. That's looking about good there. Let's take a magnet to it and swirl it back. So what I'm going to do first is basically just spread it out as thin as I can. Oh my goodness gracious, look what just revealed itself. I wasn't even trying to do that. That looks like some, oh my goodness, that's gold. Alright, well, I'm still going to do the magnet thing because that's nice to do. So if you take your big old magnet and wag it over the top, you can actually see the little pieces of black sand starting to march up towards the magnet like that. You just bring it closer and closer. They wiggle their way out of the sand below and drop any stuff that's stuck to it. Once it's all on the top, you just kind of pick them up. See how they all just kind of walk right up to the top? Let's rinse this back and see what kind of stuff we got in it. Oh, it's showing up in the corner already. Beautiful, beautiful stuff. Real colorful too, look at that. That's looking pretty beautiful to me. So I panned back what was stuck to the magnet. There's actually 2 specks of gold that was in there. Not much other blonde stuff though. It's 100% magnetic with those couple little specks. So that technique gets the stuff out of it, but not necessarily the gold. All right, now we're at the end of the big stuff. Ooh. Nice. 1, 2, 3, 4? One, 2, 3. A darker, dirtier one. 4. Yeah, 4 chunks. All right. See if I can pick any of them up. One of them had a real thickness to it. There we go. Got me a picker. If the camera will focus on it. All right. Good to know. And as far as them big pieces are concerned, I think I could pick most of them up. They're making some good noise. Yeah. All right, I went through my tailings. I got 4 little absolute micro pieces and 1 little bit here that I can actually feel under my finger. All right, let's wash back the Culvert Paydirt. That is beautiful. Look at that. Wow. There are some very colorful pieces in there. Some of them are almost copper colored or rusty colored. Maybe they were laying up against the culvert where it was rusty. But when I look at them up close, they're gold. Those red ones are gold. They're just like discolored by stuff or something. That's beautiful. I think there's some flakes of rust in there also, but I'll go through it real carefully with a toothpick and pick out the weird stuff, and I'll show you the cleaned up gold in a minute. Let me get this dried out. So here's the gold from the lost Culvert Paydirt. Got some nice big flakes. All this stuff is completely flat. Very, very flat stuff. Some of these reddish pieces I was looking at real close, they're actually gold. They're just discolored, maybe from the rust in the culvert or something like that. But this is all gold right here. Very, very flat. All right, time to weigh what we've got. Almost forgot to tear it. Here, I gotta use both hands very carefully for a moment. .254. Looks like I found all of it. Maybe even got a little bit extra from that Culvert dirt. Very cool, Christian. Thanks a lot for the Paydirt, man. Good experience. Alright, so I know I said I'd give away some Paydirt during this video, so let's make good on that promise. Let's fire up the scale. There's our ½ gram of gold like I promised. Throw some silver on there as well. Some nice crystals of silver in there. Also, we got a nice pile of gems and minerals and... Wait, what's this? Vitamins? Get them the heck out of here. Alright, we got some different gems and minerals. I'll have a little list included in there, but we got some copper, we've got some opals, we've got some amethyst, we've got... Oh, there's even some coins and some quartz. We've got all kinds of good stuff in there. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, and just for fun, I'm going to throw one of these Uperlights in there that I found in Lake Michigan. They really glow pretty cool if you have a black light around. In you go. And just to mix things up a bit, let's go ahead and throw in about half of the Culvert gold too. Just to mix things up. And for good measure, a Cielo de Campo meteorite, don't you know? Good luck to the winner. I'm about to do the drawing on the computer, and then I'll post my video online immediately afterwards. Good luck to yous. Alright, now here's the moment we've all been waiting for. I'm going to copy the link. I'm going to go to the Random Comment Picker. If you haven't seen this before, it's a free website that lets YouTubers give away raffles in a nice fair manner. All you do here is paste the YouTube video URL, and then you go to your options, filter duplicate users. Yeah, you don't get 6 entries if you left 6 comments. Include replies, sure, you get an entry if your comment was only in the replies. No specific text you had to have, nobody I'm excluding, no extra entries for anyone. Get the YouTube comments, and then it downloads your comments. Well, start raffle and pick random winner. I guess that's it. These are stupid ads. You gotta be careful there. Go. Oh, here we go. Thomas Murray. Alright, bud. Looks like you're a winner. Congratulations. I will leave you a message on the video, and congratulations. Alright, we'll get in touch. The email is wisconsingoldrush@gmail.com. Get in touch with me, and I'll mail it right to you. Thanks a lot, bud. Oh yeah, I'm giving away another bag of Paydirt, so just leave a comment on this video, and I'll do the same thing next time. Alright, have an awesome day, an awesome week, and I'll see you next time.